Welcome to the Rock Your Comeback podcast. I'm Nicole Eaton, author of the books Rock Your Soul and Rock Your Comeback, as well as an intuitive therapist, and I'm here to remind you of your power. This podcast focuses on mindset and inviting the universe in to create a life that feels so good, so aligned, and so authentic. I hope you're ready. Imagine for a moment being one of 9 children living in a house that has issues with finances, a house that has issues with abuse. And imagine it gets so bad that by age 12, you're dropping out of school and you get involved with the wrong crowd and you actually end up in prison a little while later. How do you come back from that kind of life? How do you come back from that experience? Today, we're going to sit down with Erica Cordeiro, who is one of my clients who has really taken her story and become one of the most incredibly successful, well-spoken women who owns her worth, owns her power, and now uses her own healing to help positively impact other women, to help them step into their wealth and their worthiness and their abundance, and out of that people pleasing, out of that codependency. And you're going to love Erica. So you're going to want to catch her over on the Comeback Club, which is my online membership that is going to give you access to a masterclass at the end of April with Erica. And it also gives you access to literally every masterclass ever made or that I've ever had a guest for, live Q&As monthly, and journal prompts, and we just do a lot of fun stuff over there, so you're not going to want to miss it. But you can support this podcast and this episode by sharing it, liking it, and leaving a positive review, and just letting us know what you think. We would love to know what you think, and make sure to connect with Erica at the end because she's amazing. So I hope you love it. Welcome back to another episode of the Rock Your Comeback podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Eaton, author of the book, Rock Your Comeback. And I have a really cool guest for you guys today. I'm here with Erica Cordeiro. She is an entrepreneur, healer, coach, and owner of the soon-to-be hot yoga studio and breathwork studio, Velvet, in Apex, North Carolina. And Erica is has a special place in my heart because she is somebody who has been a client of mine for many, many years. And I just am loving watching her transformation. So welcome, Erica.
Thank you. Thank you for having me in this full circle moment. I like to call Nicole my gateway drug into the world of healing and spirituality because it's true. You played a pivotal role in that. So thank you for that.
I love being somebody's gateway drug. It's always cool for me. And one of the things that I love is that when I work with people over a period of time, I watch them morph into so many different versions of themselves. And so, I don't even know how long ago that we actually connected, but I know that the person who's sitting in front of me right now is quite different than the version of you, 5 to 10 years ago. I mean, it had to have been.
It was 7.
Okay.
7 years ago. Isn't that wild? And it's 1:11 right now. But carry on.
Perfect. One of the things that you and I have talked about over the years, and I think you're brilliant at, is that you've had some really tough moments in your life. You've had a lot of trauma. You've had a lot of things that have happened to you, around you, within you. And I always love to see somebody thriving, but would you mind taking us back to where we first connected? What was going on for you? Where were you at in your life?
Oh my gosh. Okay, let me close my eyes for this one. Where I was in my life was just completely unsure of where do I place my foot? It was a really dark moment in my life, period of time. It wasn't even just a moment. And, I had issues within my marriage. I think that was one of the main reasons for me talking to you, which I won't get into. I am still very much married, but childhood trauma, molestation, rape, running away from home, dropping out of school at the age of 12, and really just not knowing who I was as a person. I needed at the time others to help me define who I was because I had zero identity. I knew that I was someone who went through a whole bunch of shit and didn't know how to get out of it. And within that, I was codependent. I was a people pleaser. I did nothing for myself and everything for everyone else because I needed other people to validate my worth. Within that as well, I became a really fantastic cook because,
I
hello,
see your Instagram stories and I'm like, invite me to dinner. Teach me.
like I love cooking, but that was all a part of this role I was playing, like, hello people, this is what I'm worth. Like, I'm a great cook, blah blah blah, but I really didn't feel it inside. I didn't feel worthy of any of it.
I think that it's so important to point out that, like, from the outside in, because I connected with other people around you before I connected with you personally. And so I like knew you before I knew you, or knew of you before I knew you. And I think from an outside perspective, it looks like, oh, she's owning a hair salon. She's like killing it in all of these different spaces of her life. Her family is gorgeous. And so I think it's a good reminder for people who are having a tough time, because I think it's very convincing. When you're looking online and social media and see people's lives and see their great meals and see their cute little family, that there's still people who are struggling with themselves while posting the most epic dinner they've ever made, while posting the most successful business they've ever owned. And I think it's a good reminder that you're not alone in the things you're experiencing. And I think you brought up a great word, worthy. Is how do you start the process of worthiness when you're in such a lost space?
Mm, great question. And I don't think I have a set answer for this, but I know that there came a point in my life where I was like, this is not working out for me. And I think you know, having a conversation with you was one of the turning points in my life. Um, you asked me one day, and I remember this, you're like, but who are you outside of your family? Who are you outside of your job? And I was like, whoa, hold on. I have no idea. I have no idea who I am. And so it started with like journaling, right? Like journaling things about myself that I like. And then that snowballed into taking care of myself, prioritizing self care, working out, taking care of my body, and the rest is history. But really, it's healing. Like, I really had to go on this deep, dark, spiritual healing journey. And it was fucking hard. It was so hard. There were many times where I wanted to give up. And people along the way kind of, the universe throws at you like all of these little tests, right? And it was like, oh, are you really healing? Are you really healed from that? And so I've been tested many, many, many times. And at the end of the day, where I am today, like, I know I am worthy of whatever the fuck I want to be worthy of. I'm worthy of it all. So I don't know if that answers your question, Nicole.
Helpful, because when people are in that process of starting, I it gets messier. Like, it gets messier before it gets better. And I think that some people get anxious when they start to dive into the healing work, because they're like, well, I've been suppressing that for years and I didn't have to feel that when I was just walking through the motions of things. But that's the problem, is when you're walking through the motions of things, it's really hard to feel, and it's really hard to feel present, and it's really hard to not do the automated thing that you've always done and go through the motions of life. And what we're talking about is worthiness, but what we're also talking about is, like, how do you actually live in your body, in your life, and bring joy from it?
You don't. You don't live when you are in survival mode. You really are just surviving. And my health started taking a toll. I got diagnosed with like Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid disorder, which coincidentally is like what closely related to your throat chakra. So I wasn't using my voice. I wasn't stating my needs. and I was really suppressing a lot of my childhood trauma. And so that was also a big part of my healing journey. I needed to start speaking up. And now I don't shut the fuck up, which is great. I
It's my favorite. I know a lot of people listening who identify as either codependent or a people pleaser. And I think it's hard to feel when you are a people pleaser, it's so hard to feel like my needs are important and the things I have to say are valuable. What help you walk into that?
Well, I started off getting a million certifications because I dropped out of school at 12 years old, which was seventh grade, by the way. I felt like I was stupid my whole life. So I
Just wild to me.
dove.
You're so fucking smart. Like you're so intelligent. That's and like so I think you just have a way of figuring things out too, you know?
Yeah, I had to. It was that or not. And I know I needed to live a quality life. And so, yeah, I went to hair school. I opened up a hair salon. And on top of that, I went to prison. And so I was a felon. And it kind of pushed me into the realm of business ownership because I didn't think there was another way. So it was such a beautiful, twisted experience going to prison, which I don't mind sharing if you want to know more about that. But I knew no other way. Like it had to work. There was business ownership was where I needed to be if I wanted to be successful. And now I know it's not just for felons, it's not just for people who are seeking freedom, it is for everyone. There are a million businesses out there that are quite ridiculous that make a ton of money. And I'm like, man, people just like, why not tap into that? But people don't feel worthy of it, right? They're like, where do I start? What do I do? It's not for me.
Coming from a place of people pleasing and codependency, like myself too, right? Is I've noticed that finding my power also means I've found the power and energy of things. And one of the things that you talk a lot about that resonates with me is that when I started to hit certain levels of abundance in my own life, it was like money had an energy and I knew how to tap into the energy. And I'm curious your thoughts on this because I know you like to talk about money just in general, but I want to know what you think.
I think the more that I value myself, the more money I make. Because, first of all, most of our beliefs about money stem from before the age of 7 years old. We are hardwired before the age of 7. All of our beliefs, not just about money. So that right there is wild to me. Secondly, yeah, money is an energy and it is everywhere. And it's not just money, it's abundance. And the key to unlocking it, like if we were just like TLDRing this, is gratitude, having gratitude for what you have in the present moment. If you hate your job, having gratitude for your job, because what does it provide you? Housing, food, all of these little things that people don't really think about because it's so hard to think about when you are so hyper focused on hating your job. And again, I grew up with nothing. I grew up extremely poor, one of 9 siblings, which some of my siblings. And I had to pull myself out of that lack mentality, out of the feeling like I'm going to be poor for the rest of my life. Because one of the things my mom used to say growing up was, I am poor because I'm a good person.
Yeah.
That was in my head for so long. For so long. Rich people are selfish. Rich people are not good people. Rich people are evil. And when I started to make money within my hair salon, I kind of sabotaged myself, actually. I was like, wait, this is so much money all at one time. What am I doing with this? This is not a good idea. And like subconsciously, I was saying this. So I was like, okay, this is the most money I'm ever going to make in my life. I need to sell my business. And that's what I ended up doing. Long story short, was getting rid of my business. And it wasn't because of COVID, which it happened around that time. It was actually right before COVID. It was that I thought that that was it. Like it can't get any better. And we self sabotage more than we know. And not in big ways like that, in little ways, like you don't get that massage even though you're in so much pain. It's like those little things. But now I'm like, fuck that, calling in all the wealth, all of the worth, because I know that it is possible for me and possible for everyone.
Tying wealth to worth is one of the most important associations to make because we're talking about people pleasing, we're talking about codependency, we're talking about not being, satisfied in your jobs and figuring out who you are as a person. And when you don't hold your worth, you don't charge as much as you should. But also you aren't, I believe you're a magnet for things. I believe that you become a magnet for the good in your life, the abundance in your life, and that self-doubt and that self-sabotage will add up as a giant block for you. I'm curious what's one way you were able to really own that for yourself of like, yeah, bring on the wealth. When did it click over for you?
There was no clicking moment for me. I wish there was. I wish I could say that. It was a slow, gradual progression. And I can thank energy healing for that. And it's funny you use the word magnet because yes, we are magnets. And I have these magnets whenever I get a new client, like next to my desk, on my desk. And I like to show people this analogy that when we are born, we have no magnets, right? Like, let's say each of these magnets are emotions and we go through something traumatic. So, this would be like depression, this would be anxiety, this would be the feelings of like unworthiness, right? So, we collect all of these magnets within our body. And what are magnets? They like magnetize other things, right? So, what we're doing within our body is we have all these emotions and we keep multiplying the same emotions that we have. So, when it comes to energy healing, what I'm doing is I'm taking these single emotions. Well, I'm not taking them. Your higher self is actually calling for you to heal, but I act as a proxy to that. And we find the emotions, we find what age they're trapped, we find where in your body it's trapped, and we remove them slowly. So, to answer your question, it was not just an aha moment. It was like a very slow, gentle, but beautiful process of remembering who the fuck I am.
I love it. I think that that's obviously something I'm super passionate about. That's my entire mission statement, right? Is that I want to help people remember who the fuck they are, that they have this energy to them. And I think, what I'm hearing you say is that these emotions are either attracting really great things or they're attracting things you don't love. And
Yes.
if we can honor them, pull them up and look at them, then we can do something about choosing to keep them or trading them out for something better. So I love
Yeah.
that idea of just what if it could be that easy? What if it could be
Yeah.
that simple, that owning your worth is really just a process of unlearning a little bit and examining and finding the things to own within yourself rather than just skimming over. I mean, we were just talking earlier about living an automated life. This is the exact opposite. It's diving in, it's intentional living, it's processing the emotions, it's holding space for them. And I love it.
Yeah. Holding space for yourself is such a big deal, especially if you're a mom, and you have children, you are constantly like filling everyone else's cup while depleting your own and not pulling from these other sources and knowing that like your kids can actually need to learn how to fill their own cup too. But that's another conversation that we won't get into this time. But and it wasn't just energy healing. I love the body code and the belief code because I'm obviously a practitioner, but breath work, there are so many ways that you can release these energies. Breath work, therapy, somatic therapy, yoga, even, or like just manipulating your fascia, even getting a massage. I don't know if you've ever cried during a massage, but I have many times, especially in the beginning of my healing journey, because like these emotions get trapped in our actual physical bodies and result in physical pain. And sometimes it can manifest into autoimmune issues. Like for me, it was my thyroid condition, which I've completely healed from that. So our bodies talk to us. They're very, it's very intelligent.
Your red body keeps the score.
Hell yeah. That was also a gateway book. It was
Yeah.
gifted to me.
I cannot think of the author of it off the top of my head, but The Body Keeps the Score is that book I'm actually revisiting. I read, gosh, a decade ago, and I was like, I wonder if that would like hit me different now, you know? So I'm reading it right now, and I'm just like, it's wild the way our body keeps count of everything that's happened, whether we're aware of it, whether we're talking about it, whether we're like processing it or not, like it's still somewhere in there. So I love the work that you're doing. And I love the idea that yoga, and one of the things he says in the book is he talks about how getting into the body is one of the best ways to process and heal from emotions. And he used yoga as a great example of that, of really being present in your body and how that reduces symptomology across studies.
I did not remember that part, but thank you for bringing that into my awareness, especially since I'm opening up this yoga studio. But it's true. We hold on to these things in our bodies. I remember having a specific like physical pain right here on my left side of my neck, and it was just for years, for many years, and every time I was stressed out, it would flare up. And once I did a session, a body code session, and figured out what it was feeling like I was really unworthy and feeling like I was carrying such a burden, this a secret, which I did not tell my mother I was being molested by my stepfather, which is why I ran away from home, which is why I dropped out of school. So I didn't share that. My mother did not find out until it's just a few years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago. And I was still, the energy never leaves just because I said something or just because she found out, it was still trapped in my body up until last year. And I was like, I'm going to finally sit down and do a session. So we did it, and I haven't had pain since. And it's like one of those like mind blowing moments, like, oh my gosh, the body really does keep the score. Like I knew it, but I was like, I actually feel it. And you don't know how bad something is until it's no longer there. Anxiety was another one of those things. Don't suffer from that anymore. And it was really, really debilitating for me. With my yoga studio, it's not just a yoga studio. I'm actually going to have a little room in there where I will take one on one clients, and we will do some deep healing work, some Reiki, some Kundalini activation, some yoga, some hardcore, but really feminine, trauma informed breath work. Like, this is the vision that I have, and I'm so excited for it.
I'm so excited for you. And like, I've just always seen great things for you. And I remember maybe a year ago, it had to have been where I was like, gosh, I feel like at some point you're going to be on my podcast. And, and here we are today. So I'm so proud of you. And I think that I was talking with a guy who's going to be coming up on this podcast as well. There's power in sitting with people who have been in the space you're in. And I always
Mm.
say, like, the things I've gone through are helpful for people because they know I'm not bullshitting when I say I've been there and you can be somewhere else. And I think the testimony of your experience of going from being somebody who's really had every reason to not feel worthy, every reason that to doubt yourself, every reason to be doubted. And I love that you're claiming yourself back into this space to not only do it for you, but to let that light shine in a way that helps other people, because that's what people are looking for, is relatability and the ability to see their potential in someone else too. I think that's a really powerful move for people.
Yeah. And I strongly realize being in the online space that I am more of an in-person person. Like I need to sit in someone's actual physical energy because, I'm a projector, which I know your daughter is one. And we just like can penetrate into people and feel their things more than they feel it. And it was a curse for me for a really long time, which led to the people pleasing, which led to walking on eggshells and not wanting to disrupt the peace, but owning that part of me and actually being informed about the projector side of me has really, really shifted things in my life.
Yeah, and if anybody is listening and you're not sure what she's talking about, we're talking about human design. And I think that human design is one of the most powerful tools to get to know yourself. I will die on that hill. I will advocate for human design forever. You can look up your chart. I love myhumandesign.com. That's a great chart way to use. And I can help you figure out what that means if you want to chat. But there's plenty of free information out there. There's plenty of opportunities to learn more about it. But one of the things that somebody who is a projector in human design is waiting to be invited. And that's a really hard thing. I know my daughter's 12 and she's always saying, like, I feel like no one listens when I speak. Like, even when we're at lunch, I feel like I start talking, then other people start talking over me. And so we've had to really work on some of those things of her finding her voice within being this particular design, which is an incredible blessing. A projector is an incredible blessing, and really has the ability to see other people exactly for who they are. But it's the process of owning it, understanding it, and navigating through it. And I think that's like all the learning is, and learning is so helpful to understanding why you are the way you are. And then the work that Erica's talking about is the next step. So we can understand how we got here, but what are we going to do about it? And addressing your emotions and reestablishing your worth not only puts you in a position to make things happen for you, because I think that's what worthiness does, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is a huge key to freedom, emotional freedom, career freedom, success, and just loving yourself. Like, most people don't want, like you said, they don't want to think, they don't want to feel, they suppress. And yeah, I am in the business of helping people bring that to the surface so they are no longer suppressing it, so that they're no longer trapping shit. And it doesn't mean that, like, oh, we're opening up Pandora's box and now you have to deal with all of your trauma. Like, I like to do it in a really gentle way. So yeah, that can happen, but your higher self knows best. It's not going to give you anything that you can't handle, right? So I work with a higher self quite a bit in that regard.
If we're talking about manifesting, right? And manifesting money and the energy of abundance, worth is directly related. And
Oh,
we talked about worth and wealth, but this is also worth in love. This is also worth in success. This is also worth in, just following your own guidance and trusting yourself is a huge one. And so if you're interested, if this is piquing your interest, that you're saying, something that Erica said is like hitting with me, this makes a lot of sense. Where can people reach out and connect with you?
well, they can find me on Instagram, which is alignwitherica.com, or you can just straight up email me at, I think, hello@alignwitherica.com. And I will always respond. Always, always, always. It might not be instantaneously because hello, busy life, 4 kids, but I will always respond.
And I'll put everything in the show notes so you guys can connect with her super easily, because you're going to want to follow her, but you're also going to want to check out her new space, which is opening this summer, Velvet in Apex, North Carolina. And I'm just so proud of you. And I'm so grateful you had space and time to come hang with me today.
Of course, this again, like I said, I think before you started recording, is a full circle moment, because Nicole, I think she downplays her magic, guys. Like, she is absolutely incredible and phenomenal as a human being, and was a huge part of my healing journey. And you helped me see my life. You've always said that to me from day one. And I was like, I don't even know what the fuck that means. You were like, you are such a light. And I was like, what the fuck does that even mean? But like, now I know. Now I know. So again, thank you.
I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Well, make sure to, if you valued this episode, make sure to connect with Erica and let us know what you think, and subscribe, leave a review. It's always appreciated. And we'll catch you next week.
Thanks for listening. Make sure to get a copy of my latest book, Rock Your Comeback, The Down-to-Earth Guide to Reclaiming Your Power, just about everywhere books are sold. Join the Comeback Club for exclusive access, masterclasses, and more. And I always love to know what you think, so make sure to shoot me a DM or leave me a review. Thanks for listening to the Rock Your Comeback podcast. I hope you're feeling inspired, motivated, and ready to take on the world. Now go step back into your power. The world's been waiting for you. But first, if you could, leave me a review or share with a friend. Thank you.